Hi, and welcome back to Cricket Insights. We're going to quickly reflect on the Australia versus England Ashes series and then get into the South Africa versus India series, which has already commenced. John, your thoughts on the Ashes?
Well, I would say from a neutral's perspective, it has to rank among the most blandest Ashes series. But having said that, kudos to Australia. They prepared well, planned well, and executed well, and deservingly were 4-0 winners. I think for England, what caused them was more than the right personnel. I think the off-field antics really got to them. Even before a ball was bowled, Ben Stokes and the incidents that followed after that really had shaken the entire unit up. So I think England really needs to first get their house in order before they think of playing cricket. Once that's sorted out, I think we'll have a much more competitive series in 2019.
I thought Steve Smith was outstanding for Australia. He just keeps on scoring runs. Sean Marsh was very good, and the bowlers are outstanding. And just great to see Pat Cummins bowler. I really enjoy just seeing him bowl, and hopefully he just gets faster and better as the years go on. Moving on to South Africa, India, I really enjoyed the first test as a neutral. I thought it was exciting cricket. Really, right down to day 4 when India had a chance to win the match but weren't able to do so. An excellent first test. Your thoughts?
Yes, it was a wonderful advertisement for Test cricket. And who says Test cricket is dying? I mean, the kind of cricket that was played over 4 days was just outstanding. Both teams had their noses in front one time or the other, and South Africa deservingly walked out winners. For me, if India lost the test, it was just exactly like I mentioned in our preview a week ago. Their underpreparedness in these conditions cost them, and it could even cost them the series if they're not careful, because they came just a week before the series commenced without any warm-up matches, to not giving themselves enough time to acclimatize to conditions which are so vastly different from what they face home. I think it was the first major blunder. Secondly, I think they had a bit of a selection fiasco, I would say, taking Shikhar Dhawan and Rohit Sharma over more technically sound players in Rahul and Rahane. And Rahane is probably one of their best batsmen, and by far their best batsman in overseas conditions. So I think that were 2 major mistakes that they made in the selection policy, which cost them. And I think the other thing was India were too cautious when they batted. I think the batsmen who scored runs in the match were all batsmen who showed some intent, who counter-attacked. ABD in both innings. Du Plessis was not his completely defensive self, and he played as per the merits of the ball. And Hardik Pandya from India, the only guy who scored any runs, really counter-attacked South African bowlers. Because if India sit back and wait for South African bowlers to bowl to them, then they're just walking into a trap, and sooner or later they will get them out, as it transpired at Newlands.
Yeah, I just thought there was a little bit too much reliance on Kohli in the second innings to get them home.
Right.
Really need all their batsmen, their top 5, to really step up.
Right.
Darwin and Sharma, I mean, they weren't the only 2 that failed, but yeah, I don't know if they were the right answers. And I think India did make selection blunders. And Rahane, who averages 53 away from India, not playing, just seems to lack logic. So I'm sure he will come in, and it'll be interesting to see how they go in this test. All right, South African bowlers or South Africa's team, what are your thoughts?
I think that the team for the first test was outstanding, and even without Dale Steyn, they managed to finish off India inside 5 days. So I think their team is spot on. I think for this upcoming test match in Centurion, they have drafted in 2 quick bowlers in Dwayne Olivier and Lungi Ngidi, who I think Olivier's played about 5 tests for South Africa all last year, and Ngidi just played a few T20 matches. So I think they would look to get one of them in Dale Steyn's place, because Otis Gibson, their coach, has very clearly said that he would like to keep continuing with the 4-man pace attack to counter India's batsmen. But for my money, I think if you I mean, as you mentioned, the batting on both sides were weak. So I would look at maybe South Africa going on with a pace bowling all-rounder in Chris Morris. He can bowl 140 clicks and above over there. Pretty handy with the bat, and he's a gun fielder for a pace bowler. So if South Africa have to tinker with the team, I would just draft in Chris Morris in place of Dale Steyn. They still get 4 fast bowlers, but they have some more room in the batting department, with Chris Morris being able to contribute lower down the order. So I think South Africa should look at him to be drafted into their playing 11. As far as India goes, I mean, the obvious ones that we already mentioned, Rahul and Rahane, have to come in for Dhawan and Rohit Sharma. I think the third big inclusion has to be Umesh Yadav. You cannot have your fastest bowler and your best pace bowler on the bench, especially in conditions that will suit him. This track at Centurion will be even faster than Newlands, and you have to get him. And here is a bowler who destroyed Australia in home conditions on those flat tracks in India against a unit which plays pace bowling really well. So I cannot fathom them leaving Umesh Yadav out. They made the mistake the first time. I think they need to draft him in for this test. I would say maybe get him in place of Shami, because even though Mohammad Shami bowled well in the second innings, he took an entire innings to get, warm or heated up, and India can't afford this. They lose this, the series is over. So India need to ring in the changes, and they have to make the dynamic changes that are called for, and Umesh Yadav must play in place of Shami. I would keep Ashwin simply to add for the variety, but I would be also okay if they took Jadeja as a spinner, because Jadeja, again, as I mentioned last time, they have 5 right-handers in the top 7. Maybe Jadeja as a left arm off spinner gives them that variety that they require, and as a weapon and an additional weapon. So these would be the changes that I would look at India to make for the test match in Centurion, and they have to attack. They have to attack South Africa's paces if they have to square the series 1-1 or maybe not even lose this test match.
Okay, well, there you have it. We're looking forward to this test. It's starting later on today. Can India make it 1-1, or will South Africa go 2-0 up, or will it go down to a third test? We look forward to you joining us after the second test, and we'll see you then. It's bye for now.